Well, hello there, fellow Diablo players. Today I would like to go over something a little bit different, a little more in-depth. Maybe break down the barriers as to why Diablo 4 just feels so incomplete. But first, we need to go back in time. Just a little bit. And that day would be May 15th, 2012.
This place is thick with the stench of ghouls.
And just 2 short years later, we had Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls on March 25th, 2014. Now, we could go all the way back to January 3rd, 1997, to Diablo's original release date, but I think that might be a bit unfair and a bit far-fetched for the comparison in this video. Which brings us to the long-awaited Diablo 4. Now, I am by no means here to preach to you that Diablo 4 is dead. In fact, it's quite a thriving game. It's broken record sales for Blizzard. It's made national news. There's celebrity advertisements. The point of this video is to show you that Blizzard put more money into their marketing, more money into getting people to buy the game than they actually did into developing the game. At least that's what it feels like to me. So where I'd like to start the comparison on the quality of life features for Diablo 4 versus Diablo 3 is essentially your inventory and the space that we have in both inventory and stash. As you can see here in Diablo 3, our inventory was 30 double slots or 60 single slots. And then as we move over to our stash, we have 35 double slots in Diablo 3 or 70 single slots, and then 50 single slots in Diablo 4. Now, I feel like this was just sheer neglect and laziness in the coding, and it's something that never should have happened. Continuing on with things that never should have happened is fast travel. Who in their right mind on the development team thought it would be a wonderful idea to not include fast travel? Not only can you not fast travel directly to someone, but even if you go into a city, not all cities have the ability to fast travel. So now you have to travel to a city that has the ability to fast travel and then travel to the person that you're playing with. There's no reason for that at all. There's also no reason it takes this long to run across the city. I mean, I know that you want the city to feel expansive, you want us to see other players, but come on now. Can we put things just a little bit closer together? The amount of time it takes to run from one of the things to another thing that's common is a little bit far-fetched. And then the fact that the cameras are as zoomed in as they are, I know you're selling cosmetics. I bought some myself. But really, the gameplay itself is more important. zoom the camera out just a little bit more, please, and maybe move the stash closer. So another thing I think that we can all agree on for quality of life feature here is the level requirement on gear, because the level requirement on gear is legitimately just there to slow you down, to slow down the progression of alts. It serves no purpose, it serves no functionality other than just to slow you down. There is no reason that I shouldn't be able to, let's say that I'm playing a necromancer and I wanted to go play a sorcerer. There's no reason I shouldn't be able to say, hey, oh, this piece of gear looks pretty good, or this piece of gear looks pretty good. Let me go ahead and just pick that up on my alt and get myself a good head start. If you want to cap everything and say, hey, you've at least got to be level 50 or level 60 to use any of the gear that your main picks up, that's fine. But considering the fact that the XP point, the halfway mark, is level 85, that's quite a lot to ask to do with your alts. You know, and I think one of the most obvious ways that Blizzard is going about trying to slow down the progression of individual characters comes in the form of enchanting. It is by far way too expensive to enchant gear. I don't just mean the cost of farming Forgotten Souls. In the end, that's really easy to do. I'm referring to the gold cost. Gold is not that easily obtained for your average player, or even those that put that much time in. And then when you're looking at the cost of, you know, time it takes to farm said gold in order to re-roll on an item, it's too steep. It's too significant of a time investment to re-roll those items. I'm aware Diablo is not, you know, you're not going to get perfect items. It's the nature of Diablo. But on the other hand, to go with that, there's too many stats. There's far too many stats, right? So when you factor in the amount of stats that there are to roll through and the amount of stats that can roll on each individual piece of gear that you pick up, the time investment to re-roll the enchanter, it's far too much gold. The drop rate of gold either needs to significantly go up, or the cost of enchanting needs to significantly go down. Now, I'm also aware that Diablo 4 is a brand new game, and if you're not careful, gold will spiral out of control. Just look at World of Warcraft and the inflation there. Look at Diablo 3 and the amount of gold we had there. I understand it is a fine and delicate line to balance when it comes to an economy in a game, especially one like Diablo 4, where people are buying and selling items for gold or money. But it can't be to the point where it punishes the average player. Now, one of the things I don't know whether it was intentional or lack of planning, it's really hard to tell. But that would be dungeon design. Now, I like these dungeons a lot. The only thing that I dislike really about the dungeons is the constant backtracking. Now, when you play them enough, you generally learn one of the three layouts it's going to be. Not all dungeons have multiple layouts. I feel like most of them have at least a couple layouts that they can be. But a lot of the times you end up backtracking in dungeons. You know, you miss a guy here, you miss a prisoner there. It's the constant back and forth. And I feel like sometimes that it was intentional, and it was intentionally done to slow down the game. But then I stop and I think about it, and that just seems kind of a silly thing to put in to slow down gameplay, because that does persist throughout the entirety of the game. It's just, it's one of those that, you know, maybe some sort of arrow. Hey, you missed a guy here before you run completely to the other side of the map. Yeah, that's a lot of time involved. Just like I showed you earlier, you know, the amount of time it takes to run from one side of town to the other. You know, I'm not going to time running from one side of a dungeon to another, but it's a lot of time. And in a game that's, you know, really all about grinding and getting more loot and grinding and getting more loot, I think the last thing any of us really want to be doing is running back and forth across an empty dungeon trying to find a small little hallway that we missed, or a single mob that we missed. Maybe it's petty on my part, but I really don't like that aspect of these dungeons. Look, for all the negatives I've mentioned about the game, you know, there are simple fixes. And to match those negatives, I think there's even more positives. More that I could really cover in a single video. The game is fun. The game has a lot of potential. There's issues that do need to be fixed. There's balances that do need to be made. But that's every game. You know, there are no modern games anymore where all of this is completed before it's released. This is beta. Whether you like it or not, preseason is just beta. It's just beta testing. That's plain and simple. Preseason is beta testing, and the only point of it is to iron out any large bugs that they didn't find during pre-beta. There are things that are really frustrating to me. You know, for Blizzard to come out and say, oh, hey, resistances don't work, we're not going to bother fixing them for 4 months. That's a core part of the game for a lot of people. You know, folks like me, I need those resistances. I need all the help I can get to push high level content. I'm not that good. I'm not a young buck anymore. I don't have those reaction times. You know, so for someone like me, the average gamer, those resistances are pretty important. And the fact that armor means more for resistances right now than, you know, main stat or intelligence or just straight up resist, that's rough. You know, and there are some clunky things in the game as well, the Paragon board being one of them. I think it's really fun and a unique way to do the Paragon board, but it's a bit expensive and it's a bit challenging if you're wanting to change your build. I do miss being able to go up to the wardrobe, set the build that I want to do, and off I go. You know, slot 1 is your speed build, and slot 2 is your push build, and slot 3 is your gold farming build, and slot 4 is, you know, whatever you want it to be, right? So there are some things that I'm sure will eventually get brought over. But my gripe is they're going to drip feed us Diablo 3 into Diablo 4. And what I mean by that is a lot of these features should have already been in the game. You know, gems and rings and amulets. There's no reason that they take up a whole slot like that. You know, give us back that inventory space. It is precious. Especially if you're going to add even more stats to gear now. That's more gear that we have to keep. So when the reroll cost becomes too great and we're not able to reroll our best in slot, or what we deem our best in slot, you know, now we've got to go to these other pieces. And now that we have to store aspects, you know, we need even more space. There's a lot of simple things that should have been done. I know there's a gym tab coming. I get that, but why that wasn't done during development is beyond me. I'm not a coder. I don't know how difficult that would be, but I think that's a pretty big priority, right? What can we do to make sure that we're bringing over the features that people really enjoyed from one game into the next? I mean, we're not going from, one type of game to a different type of game. This is going from, Diablo 3 to Diablo 4. So when you do that, we're still expecting the same type of gameplay, the same features that we've come to know and love. We shouldn't feel like we're stepping down or going back in time, which is why I say I feel like the game is incomplete. All of this should have been brought over from the very beginning. I'm aware that there's plenty of time to bring these things over, and as long as the developers do that in a timely manner, it will not feel like we're being drip fed Diablo 3. I want to see innovation. I want to see creativity. I mean, I paid $100 for the game. I'm sure a lot of you out there did as well. That's a lot of money, especially in our current economy. There's not enough gold out there. And it costs too much to re-roll in life. But anyway, that is my 2 cents, my opinion, and my feelings and thoughts on the current state of the game. I do strongly hope that the game continues to improve, and I have faith that it will. So, thanks for watching, y'all. Have a good afternoon or evening, and take care.